My mind is racing about what's going on with this Shadow family and Shadow's house. There's something sinister going on here, and I mean, they keep teasing us after the credits with like Lord Grandfather and all these people and how pretty much the debut it's fine to have casualties as long as we get the end result we're looking for. I think the natural starting point for anyone who's experiencing this story for the first time is that the living dolls are real people. I mean, everything about their behavior, from how they get cleaned, the different soaps they use, they feel like normal people, but for whatever reason, they're treated as dolls, where their actual master, who's just this shadowy dust clone, is the one who's supposed to be the person. And if they go the direction of them being real people, I'm curious because we just saw soot sickness, where you have basically a monstrosity that can form. If enough of these little dust balls, these little shadowy figures form, they can create something pretty nasty and even consume the dolls themselves. I'm curious if this is going to go the direction of the reason why the Shadows family is the way it is that because they're exact clone, right? They perfectly match and mirror that of, say, Emilico and Kate, right? They look identical, just one's a shadow and one's a person by the looks of it. I'm curious if the direction they are going is that the shadowy clone or something like that actually like erase the memory or something like that of the person, and they're using them as a face because, well, they started out as darkness, so to speak. I'm curious if like they're gonna go in that sort of direction, which would be pretty twisted. And I'm curious to see like what the true outcome is, because imagine like an apocalyptic style story where rather than humanity being wiped out, imagine humanity's minds got wiped out and instead are forced to think they're an object to serve a monster that is acting like them instead. That's like, there's so many ways for this story to go, and my mind is absolutely racing. There were so many interesting clues and hints throughout this episode that really just lead to so many different outcomes and all seem so engaging, and they're probably completely different than anything I could possibly come up with right now, but I'm loving it. This show is so mysterious and has some of the most intriguing setups that I have seen in the anime media. There are certain stories that have like an initial episode that really hooks you into its world, and then there's certain shows that just have an entire mystery for its entire season, making you wonder where we're going from here. There's so many times there's shots that are so ominous and mysterious, like someone like Emilico looking in saying, oh, I wonder what's right there. Giving me very reminiscent feelings of like The Promised Neverland, when kids would look through a gated section and you're like, oh, what's going on out here? Why are we gated off from this? There's a lot of things at play that have me very concerned, especially for a character like Emilico, who very much is going off the driven path that has kind of been laid out before her. The fact that apparently someone like Kate can control soot, we saw at the beginning of the episode her doll move by herself, and I was like, okay, this is getting a little weird. And at first I was like, well, if they actually are making dolls, then maybe that's what's happening. But the fact that the reason it was moving was because she used the same stuffing that Kate's doll had, and apparently Kate can control soot, which goes against everything that the Shadows know about from what they've read. Like, there is something weird happening here, and I'm very curious what Lord Grandfather and, how dare you say his name, what his outcome is. Like, it really does feel like we're going in some sort of like take over humanity direction, and if that's not the case, what's the point of making living dolls look this realistic, right? Like, if it really is humanity just never existed and it always was shadowy figures and they made something to give them an identity, what's the twist? What's the purpose, right? Because clearly this is a show with mystery and twists and turns. That's why the outcome of them actually being human and maybe memory's been erased, I mean, we get it in the bath scene where apparently, certain characters can wake up brilliant. They know how to read and write. And then there's Emilico, who doesn't know basic language from the start. Is it based on, because I really feel like we're going in a memory alteration. Please no spoilers. This is just, I have this much content to work with, and based on what I've seen, this seemingly is the direction they're going. But I know there's so many twists and turns I can't see coming until it finally happens, and that's what makes it so brilliant. There's not too many shows out there that really let you theory craft and speculate as hard as Shadow's House, but yeah, this show is special for that reason alone. But the idea of cleaning, and you get to see like these tools, oh, what are these for? You probably won't have to use them, they're only for emergencies, and I'm like, that kind of looks like a torture tool. But seeing what they fought in this episode, it kind of makes sense that they'll have to have something. The idea of like someone being consumed to the point that they turn into like a spider, One of the most interesting things we've seen in these 3 episodes is rather than being worried that you're being strangled as you're trying to free your friend, you're more worried about your face. Because for these living dolls, their face is what matters. Their appearance matters more than anything. So rather than being worried that you're going to die or she's going to die, you're worried because she's kicking your face and you can't have any damage applied to you. There is something going on here that is quite sick and twisted. And the fact that Lou was saying, which one do you want to say? We can't say both, there's not enough time. I feel like that's going to be a pretty common theme, while there are certain characters like Emilico who think outside the box, using the plant vase to pour water. It does feel like there's going to come a point where she's going to maybe save someone or do something in her mind, and probably we will agree is the best outcome, but will probably piss off the wrong people. If there was any character in this show who has a death flag waiting over their head, it has to be Emilico and Kate, right? They seem like the oddballs out. Master who can control soot apparently can't do that, and a living doll who's questioning Lord Grandfather and everything going on here, and very much seems quite different from waking up than most out there. There's some crazy things going on, but like, Shadow's house, crazy. It's so good. And I really feel like this will be a show that once it ends, unless I hear something very quickly about more anime coming, I don't know how I wouldn't be able to read the source material unless the anime finds a way to end satisfactory way, like an open-ended sort of situation. But like, seriously, the characters are so intriguing, and for a show that is mostly cute slice of life, nothing's going wrong, there's so much sinister energy behind so many things, and it's not just the dramatic close-ups, it's just the way they frame the buildings and things like that. I also love how immediately after waking up, a character who was very bitchy to us last week immediately is saying, no, those weren't my emotions, that was my master's. You have to learn the difference. And that's so weird. It's interesting how perfectly they mirror that of their master, but seemingly have their own personality, which makes me feel like they really are human. Like, why would you make a living doll be anything more than your face? If it's just going to mirror your actual personality, why do you need to give them their own personality when they're not around you? Unless they already had that, and maybe you couldn't erase that, but you could maybe make them think that they are your face, right? There's so many ways for this to go crazy, and goddamn, if they needed to sell me more on Shadow's House, they did so with this one. This was without a doubt the most terrifying episode, but it's also the most fascinating one, and it feels like it is getting progressively better. I mean, they ease you in with that creepy horror, what the hell's going on opening, and then they end you with such an energetic, I might go as far as saying my favorite ending song of the season. It's really damn good. Like, it's hard to skip that one. There's something about that, but seriously, like, I am worried about the debut. I really am. I think, even though it probably won't be Emilico or Kate getting punished, someone's getting an axe to it, it feels like we're building up to. It'll be interesting, but I love to know everyone's thoughts and theories, because there's a lot to speculate. I think, given everything that we just saw in this episode, where do you think they're going? Do you think it really is humans and like maybe they did something to humanity, or do you think they actually are a created being and there's something more sinister going on with that? Love to know everyone's thoughts and theories down below. Please no spoilers. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.